leave good people out of the range of the shooting and go after criminals full steam. These kinds of people, criminals, you cannot treat them as if they were normal human beings, okay? We can't let policemen keep dying at the hands of those guys, and this is where they're really going to get them. If he kills, talking about a police officer or military member, 10, 15, or 20 with 10 or 30 bullets each, he needs to get a medal and not be prosecuted.
You know who that reminds me of is Duterte. Actually,
that is a Duterte type comment.
It is. It's like, you know, execute the drug dealers and we'll give you a bounty. And regardless of what you think about him and his policies, I gotta tell you, the drug dealing problem did quickly.
Oh yeah, you start killing drug dealers.
Yeah, but then the problem is you have these government-funded assassins who are judge and jury. You know, they get to decide who lives and who dies.
Well, I'm not going to pretend to know the complexities of what's going on with Duterte in the Philippines, but Brazil, I'm a little closer. I've been to Brazil. I have friends in Brazil, and see, people in America, specifically on the left, will see this and be like, "Oh my gosh, Bolsonaro wants police brutality. He's a brute." Yeah. No. The people in Brazil are sick of what's going on in the favelas. They're sick of the gang activity. They're sick of the people dealing drugs, and so someone on the outside looking in that has no clue of the situation is going to say, "Oh my gosh, this Bolsonaro, he's too extreme." No, and you know what? Maybe the rhetoric is extreme and people don't like it, but people in Brazil are sick of what's going on. You can't even go into these areas of town anymore.
It's like people in Mexico, same situation. You know, the Mexican gangs are in control of almost everything, including the Mexican government. Let's be honest, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got to clean that up at some point. How do you do it when the entire justice system is corrupt and they're putting out $100,000 hits on Breitbart reporters?
Yep.
You know, to address when crime is so bad, sometimes you have to have a temporary period of clean this up. And you gotta give police powers, even if it's temporary, I think.
You know what I think needs to happen too, as you're about to take over here with Stewart Rhodes? What I'd like to see is a new summit.
A new
and maybe
day.
Trump should spearhead this. A new global leader summit. However, it's only for the nationalistic candidates. You don't invite the Merkels. You don't invite the Macrons. You invite the Severinis from Italy. You invite the Bolsonaro should he win from Brazil. You have Trump leading it. So even Duterte, maybe you don't like everything he does, but he's nationalist. It's time, because what do we have? We have all of these globalist summits, right? Every summit, every international combine, everything is all about globalism and centralization. We need to have a nationalist combine. We need to have a pro-sovereignty combine summit. That's what has to, Putin, Trump, Bolsonaro, Severini, that's who needs to spearhead this, and it could be coming in the future. All right, Mike Adams takes over the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show with Stewart Rhodes from Oath Keepers. I sign off. You stay classy, Info Warriors.
InfoWars Live is launching its newest product.
Oh, they said it out loud. I'm gonna be fucking banned for life for this shit.
Prebiotic fiber. And it's got the very best concentrated fibers from berries and fruits and other compounds that have been known to be the very best for your body and for regularity and so much more. And it synergistically works with our 50 billion live active culture Floralife, as well as NicoZX that targets the yeast, the mold, and the funguses in the gut. So this is the time to take advantage of getting this new incredible fiber product and these other products. You get them separately or together and make really, really big savings and get high quality products at the same time. And I'm doing this to introduce these products to you. Body sold out in a month. Strongest concentrated turmeric formula we could come up with. It's sold out for another month and a half. We sold it at 50% off.
We sold it at 50% off.
And I think it's going to be the same way with this fiber. Get yours today. InfoWarsLive.com.
After the success of Alpha Power, we decided to make a new powerhouse vitality formula built with the female biochemistry in mind. After searching for the incredible ingredients to meet those needs, we're proud to bring you Ultimate Female Force. All Info Warriors know how important keeping up with their vitality truly is. With all the changes to diet, stress, and other outside forces, keeping your metabolism and well-being up is getting more difficult. That's why Ultimate Female Force is such a powerhouse formula. Together with Super Female Vitality or by itself, Ultimate Female Force is just what you need to help boost your metabolism and support your physical and mental energy levels. With the powerful root-based formula, Ultimate Female Force can help you reach your true peak potential. Don't wait to see what you can really do. Show the world Troop Ultimate Female Force at InfoWarsStore.com.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones.
Probably heard recently many of the biggest tech companies joining a coordinated effort to censor content from broadcaster Alex Jones.
They're never gonna remove him. That's crazy. That's too far.
This isn't about Alex Jones. This is about freedom.
Trump's election and Alex Jones's popularity are merely symptoms of a corrupt and failed status quo.
You have about 800 million followers. That's why you're banned.
Fuck.
Virtually every day, the big tech companies censor someone else whose political opinions they disagree with.
What?
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm sitting in my chair. What do you want?
Nothing, I'm on break. Where's the game, Bill?
I don't know. He went over his friend's house.
Hey, what?
He went over his friend's house.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just going to say hi to him. I didn't know if he had his phone or not.
They can smell it.
Yeah, he does until 9 o'clock.
Knowing that.
Oh, okay.
And we're back on the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. Thanks for joining me today. This is Mike Adams, and I'm going to be joined
Okay,
in
bye.
an upcoming segment by Stuart Rhodes from Oath Keepers. He's here live in the studio in person. It's actually the first time
Okay,
I've
bye.
ever met him in person, which is interesting because I've known about his work for many, many years. But this is going to be a crucial segment to tune into because I'll be asking Stuart about the Spartan group, which is being trained now to defend people against the violence of Antifa, which is, of course, a domestic terrorism group that uses masked faces. They mask themselves so they can carry out violent crimes with apparent impunity. And they commit felony assault on a regular basis. They bash people over the heads with bike locks, and many of them, they display weapons, and they openly talk about using those weapons to shoot patriots and to shoot Trump supporters. And, at some point, you have to defend yourself against that kind of violence. And so Stuart Rhodes' group, the Spartans, with Oath Keepers, is part of that national defense, taking a defensive posture, not an aggressive posture. It's not about instigating violence. It's about halting violence, which is the correct posture that all of us follow who are concealed firearms carriers like myself, and all the training that I've gone through with firearms, pistol, rifle training, battle training or self-defense training, all the training that I've gone through with, former and current military, because I know a lot of people in the military, and they have brought me up to speed on a lot of important defensive tactics. The number one posture is defensive. You don't instigate violence, but you are able to and willing to defend yourself against violent attacks. And if necessary, you may one day be called to defend your nation against an attempted takeover or an enemy invasion or a communist coup attempt carried out by people who hate your country and who are trying to destroy it. So these are very real and very serious issues to discuss, but we always discuss them from the point of view of a defensive posture. So all these accusations that patriots are violent people or trying to commit violence, it's nonsense. There might be a few outliers on the fringes on both sides of the political spectrum who are unhinged. The mass shooters out there mostly comes down to mental illness or psychiatric drugs. But nearly all patriots and conservatives and Trump supporters, even when they carry firearms, they do so with a defensive posture, knowing that it is not only our right, but even our duty to help protect our communities, if necessary, to help protect our men and women in blue, who deserve our protection. Many times they're vastly outnumbered. And if there is an outbreak of violence, as I think will happen very soon, probably between the end of the election and the new year, we will probably be in a situation where we need to offer assistance to law enforcement that are trying to keep law and order in our societies, to prevent society from breaking down into total chaos where rampant violence and arson and destruction of businesses and destruction of property is being carried out by radical, hate-filled leftists who literally want to destroy this country and kill as many people as possible in the process. So We're going to talk Stuart Rhodes here. We're going to talk about that posture. We're going to talk about defending our nation and how we uphold law and order and a civil society as we defend this great republic known as the United States of America. We'll be right back with Stuart Rhodes and more. Stay with us.
Cortex quick pills and you will not die. Now available in mixed variants. Do not believe anyone who says these pills are just spray painted back in act.
Cortex quick! Hey, God, hey, get the formula or you get the jump on us with ultimate female force. My beautiful wife had 3 children one day after she even looked at a bottle of female force. But let me tell you, as Buckford knows, my cousin, and as I know as well, we came up with the ultimate known herbal formula for your little lady friend. Hotline turns into a badass when he eats spinach. My little lady turns into Godzilla when she takes it. So remember, you can get your ultimate female force today at InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com and tell the mainstream media they can go straight to hell as you fund the First Amendment and unlock the incredible dynamo that is your little lady friend. Whoa! I love it!
Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
All right, we're back on the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show today. Thanks for joining us. This is Mike Adams, joined in studio today by Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers. And Stuart has joined us. Where are you actually based? What city are you normally residing in?
I'm in Kalispell, Montana.
Okay, Montana. Well, you've come a long way to be in studio here. Go ahead and lean into the microphone a little bit more if you could.
You bet.
So welcome.
Thanks.
It's great to have you here in studio.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Just give us a little background of Oath Keepers. You know, I'm sure most people are very familiar with your work, but just in case a few aren't, go ahead and tell us a little bit about Oath Keepers.
Well, we started up in 2000 themselves, and also the growth of executive power, in particular, the claimed power of the president to detain any American as an enemy combatant. When I was a student at Yale Law School, I focused on that. It was quite a, crossing the Rubicon, that claimed authority. So I wanted to focus on the men with the guns. And since then, we've grown nationwide. We're known for being on the rooftops in Ferguson, guarding against arsonists. We're known for being at Bundy Ranch. Most recently, this last year, we stood up against Antifa all over the country and protected people against their violence in the streets.
Now, the members of Oath Keepers, my understanding is many of them are current or former law enforcement.
Absolutely correct.
Military.
Correct. So military, police, and first responders, firefighters, EMT, search and rescue. And the main point is to go to the tip of the spear, the ones who would be used against the American people, but also the ones that have the skills to defend the American people. And whether they're current serving or retired. Like I was a paratrooper in the Army, so a lot of our guys are veterans.
So is it fair to say that the oath part of Oath Keepers is about keeping our oath,
yeah,
the oath that we took to defend this nation?
Absolutely. There's no new oath. It's just simply the oath we took when we were in service. And it's the obligation to support and defend the Constitution, which comes from the Constitution itself. The founders put that in there for a reason.
So what about in situations like you mentioned in Katrina, where local law enforcement were violating the Constitution? They were going door to door and demanding people's lawfully owned firearms.
Well, it was just locals. That was always kind of the problem. You had cops who were federalized and brought in from all over the country, obeying unconstitutional orders. And part of it's out of ignorance and conditioning, just obey orders. But we know that's no excuse.
Right. So what would Oath Keepers want to see in that situation?
A stand down, absolute refusal. And we had one entire unit from the National Guard of Utah that did refuse to participate. That's a good model example of what can be done in Katrina. So some guys did the right thing, but most of them did not.
So is that because the mindset, the training in law enforcement and military is often just follow orders, but you're also supposed to interpret. You're supposed to think for yourself as well.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you're human. We're not robots yet.
Well, we're supposed. Well, that's
cyborgs.
That's why the oath is the requirement to defend the Constitution. It's in the Constitution itself. Right. And in the military, like I was in the military, you're taught. They teach about mili. They teach you about where the lines are, the laws of war. But they don't teach enough about what to do here domestically. And with law enforcement, unfortunately, there's this mindset among political class as well. Well, hey, if there's an emergency, we can go ahead and just do it.
Out the
Well, sure. And I was even on Bill O'Reilly's show not too long after that. And he's like, well, that was an emergency. I said, well, so what? You know, bad weather does not suspend the Constitution. That's when you need your firearms during an emergency.
Well, especially when looters are going door to door, you know, stealing from people.
Right.
I'm not giving up my firearm in that kind of scenario.
And you'll break down in law enforcement. And this is what's kind of perverse is the founders expected all of us to be the militia, right? And nowadays, of course, that's frowned upon. And so the idea is that this warrior class of professionals protects us, and we're not allowed to pick ourselves.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's what liberals want for America is that you as an individual have no right, they believe, to defend yourself, and that you have to delegate that right to a special class of people who are controlled by the government and can easily abuse their power. But the decentralization of that power is when every citizen has a legal firearm and can defend themselves or can take part in the defense of their community.
Absolutely.
And that's what, I mean, America has been that way since its founding.
Well, that was the entire design of the founders, that they intended that the military power be in the hands of the people, that we are one and the same, not a separation between the warrior class and then the working class. You know, like in Plato's Republic, we have the bronze and the silver and the gold. So their ideal was, as that's why they say in the Second Amendment, it's necessary for the security of a free state. You're not secure, you're not free without it. You have to have this dispersion of power, like you said. It's also the only way it's going to be effective. In Katrina, you had cops being brought from all over the country, and there still weren't enough cops to secure people against the looters.
Good point. That's right. That's right. A decentralized system of self-defense and protection is a very strong and resilient system.
Yep.
And that's okay. Now, for those watching on Infowars.com, I want to ask you, about your appearance. You're wearing an eye patch. People on the radio can't necessarily see that, obviously. But I want to ask you, that's not just for show, right?
I've got I lost my eye in an accident many years ago, and it's just recently ruptured again, my prosthetic, and I have to get it rebuilt. So until that happens, I'm a pirate. I get to play pirate.
Okay, I just want people to understand that there's a medical reason for your eye.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not trying to play Nick Fury.
Yeah, exactly, right. The website for Oath Keepers.
It's oathkeepers.org.
.org.
Right.
Okay. And I want to ask you about the Spartan group, the Spartan training that Oath Keepers is now pursuing.
Yes.
As I understood from your announcements, this was a group to help defend innocent people from the violence being initiated by Antifa in particular. Is that correct?
That's right. And also to be there as a tool to be used by a sheriff or the posse, to be volunteers to protect our schools, and based upon the very successful 2-year running program that Sheriff Judd has in Polk County, Florida, where he uses local military veterans and police veterans along with volunteers in the school system itself and parents. He trains them all to standard, and they guard and protect the schools. So we want to see that replicated across the country. So we want to get motivating people to train and organize so they're available to be the posse for their sheriff or to be the militia of their state if called up by their governor.
So the sheriff could just turn to this group that are all part of your organization, Spartan Training. The sheriff could say, in an emergency, they could deputize this entire group if there were real chaos going on and people needed extra protection. Is that possible?
Well, similar. What I really want to do, the goal is not to have a group of Oath Keepers. It's to have the people of the county trained and organized. So whether they join Oath Keepers or not, I don't really care.
Right.
I just want to see them trained. So these training groups are open to anybody in any group.
Oh, so it's kind of like Appleseed training.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Very much like Appleseed.
Got it.
But we want to see them organized. We want to see them organized down at the county level so that they're available. They know each other. They're used to training together. They've worked out all the bugs, and they know how to work together as a team, and they can be turned into the posse like that.
Oh, wow, okay. So how does someone join this training? You go
to our website, and there's a post on our front page about the Spartan training groups. They can go on there, have to apply. We will vet them. We don't want communists or anarchists or white nationalists, people who are domestic enemies of the Constitution. We don't want them coming.
So there's a background check? Does that include social media?
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
What about a criminal history?
If they can give us their CCW, for example, that'd be a good shortcut to that.
Okay.
I mean, here's the bottom line. We can't train felons. I know some people are felons because of unjust, unconstitutional laws, but we have our military and veterans can't. Our military guys and police officers can't train felons.
Right.
So we do not want to train people who are enemies of the Constitution.
Yes.
So there must be some vetting.
Okay, so once they get accepted into the program, then they would join some local training group.
Right.
And what does this training entail?
Well, we want to train them for three main points. One is to be able to protect the schools. Second is to be able to protect public events against leftist violence. And a third is to be available as the militia to deploy on the border and secure our border.
Wow.
We see two existential threats right now. The border is one of them. If we don't seal the border, we're going to have, the Democrat plan is to bring in more people from the third world, and they hope they'll vote Democrat.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're doing. And it's illegitimate, obviously. That's very subversive. That's one big existential threat. Second one is the schools. They want to see more dead kids so that eventually, like in Australia or in England or in Scotland, they can eventually disarm us.
Yeah,
if we don't fix that,
exactly right.
we're in trouble.
Okay, so we're going to go to break here shortly, but when we come back, I want to ask you more about the border. I have questions about, authority and the Border Patrol, or maybe a future government that doesn't want the border protected. How do you work out that kind of clash? I want to ask you about protecting schools when obviously the Democrats want schools to be gun-free zones, almost like magnets for shooting.
Right.
So how do we effectively protect children against nut jobs out there? But we'll be back with that and much more. You're watching the Alex Jones Show. Stuart Rhodes in studio.
There was some bad news recently for extreme right-wing conspiracy theorist and bath salt spokesmodel Alex Jones, because it looks like his website InfoWars just lost their war on info. Yesterday,
I think Alex Jones is disgusting. I think the things he said are awful. He makes me physically sick. With that being said, he does have the ear of the president, and he has 6 million people that listen to him. And I would like people out there to know that there is a segment of the population that's drawn to this. We have a problem in this country, and I would like him to be exposed.
Alex Jones promotes conspiracy theories and foments hatred of media.
I don't like giving people like Alex Jones a platform. He's one of those guys who believes Bigfoot was responsible for 9/11.
I heard that on Alex Jones, so it's true.
Yesterday, Apple, Google, Facebook, and Spotify all erased most of the posts and videos on their services from Alex Jones. So, if they're gone, they're out of there.
Alex Jones' YouTube channel posted a video that was seen by 2.3 million subscribers, alleging that these were merely that these were actors and not real students who had experienced the most horrific thing anyone could possibly imagine.
David Hogg, a day after the event, started working for the Democratic Party and Soros, flying around on private jets, being anti-gun spokesperson. I said he's a PR man, and that he was an actor at the school, part of the drama club, so he's well-spoken, and he's been chosen to be anti-gun. I said, I believe people died, and I believe he's a real student. They misrepresented and said that I bullied him.
That violated our harassment policy. We have a specific policy that says if you say a well-documented violent attack happened, and you use the name or image of survivors or victims of that attack, that is a malicious attack and violates our policy.
I did not post a video doing that. It was all over the news. They had to remove all the strikes. They were putting strikes on videos that I put up showing what I'd said that I didn't say it. And you got your asses kicked because I had Infowars.com and I had Newswars.com and I was able to counter and show what I said.
But this isn't about Alex Jones. This is about freedom and our access to information from the sources we as individuals trust and like.
A reporter in the courtroom said the Jones attorney told the judge today his client's comments are political speech and commentary and not defamatory.
I take a lot of flack coming on your show and representing you. There are a lot of people angry at me, good friends, family. That
Like you said, CNN's not calling anymore.
And I say, well, tell me, if you hate this guy so much, show me what the problem is. And they'll send me a link to the New York Times, or they'll send me a link to some other article saying, paraphrasing what you said. And I said, yeah, but now bring me to the original source. And when I go find it, I said, well, that's not really what was said here. Well, then there's this backpedal. It's like, well, he's enabling such speech, or he's encouraging it.
Well, it's easy to dismiss concerns about big tech's actions, all coordinated, it seems, to shut down Jones, because, of course, he's the media's poster child for conspiracy theory.
Court hearings will resume today in lawsuits against radio host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Infowars.com.
Infowars.
Alex Jones.
From Infowars.
Infowars.
Yeah. Now, I know we're supposed to think that Alex Jones is way more radical than, like, Bill Maher, Michelle Wolf, or Rosie O'Donnell. But he's got a point of view, and CNN is trying to squelch his point of view.
For many on the left, The view seems to have become that if you can't beat him, prevent him from speaking.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. The Alex Jones Show.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. He told you never saw been in trouble with the law since the day he was born.
All right, we're continuing with Oath Keepers. Stuart Rhodes here in studio. This is Mike Adams filling in for the fourth hour today on the Alex Jones Show. Thank you for sticking with us in many different levels, by the way. So Stuart has been describing this new program. It's called Spartan. It's a training program inside Oath Keepers where citizens can be trained to help assist law enforcement or assist in the defense of their communities or perhaps even their own nation. I wanted to ask you about the border security situation. You said specifically that Spartan trainees or members may be called upon to help secure our nation's border. How do you plan to do that?
Well, the first thing that should happen, of course, is Trump should have ordered the military onto the border as his first act as president. He should have done as commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
But he also can call upon the militia, which is all of us, and call us in the federal service on his own.
So he doesn't need congressional approval.
He does not. He already has it.
Any of that.
Yeah. Congress has already provided for calling forth the militia. And he has the authority to do it. So he has the authority to deploy DOD assets right now.
And deploying the military on the border does not violate Posse Comitatus because it's securing the border, which is mentioned in the Constitution.
That's right. Or if you're concerned about that, you could have the Border Patrol actually enforce the laws, do the detention and processing, but you can have the military protect them. Like, for example, you had this Border Patrol agent shot about 2 months ago in Arizona. He ran into a rip crew, was shot with AK-47, only survived because he had body armor on, he had plate armor on. But it would be nice to have a squad of Marines or squad of Army infantry escorting him and protecting him while he enforces the laws.
Yes. But of course, coming out of 8 years of Obama, we had a president who did not want any enforcement on the border.
Right.
Obviously, the Democrats' voter recruitment plan to have as many people just walk across the border and then get licensed to vote in California.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we have Trump. Why is Trump not doing what needs to be done? So I challenge him to do his job.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that either. But there's a lot that we wish he would. I mean, look, he's doing a lot. You know, can you imagine being in his shoes right now and you're attacked and vilified and lied about every day?
Right.
Half the people that you could even try to hire are swamp creatures who are just beholden to the swamp. How do you even extricate yourself from that situation and save the country, you know, at the same time? And exit the White House one day with your business still intact in his case?
I think he has to look at his own up. You know, he voted him into office to take care of business and do what's right. And all he really has to do is call a General Mattis and get it done. So he can do it. And they're going to demonize and attack him no matter what he does. He might do the right thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
What about the wall? I mean, building the wall, whether it's entirely physical or if it's drone enhanced or what have you, do you think the wall will be effective if we don't have enough people there?
When I was infantry in the Army, no barrier of any design is effective unless it's under observation and enforcement. You have to be able to observe, and then you have to be able to go and stop the breaches. So you must have monitoring. You can use sensors, you can use drones as force multipliers, but you still need boots on the ground. That's why you have to have us as the militia, National Guard, and the military on the border.
So in your view, the ideal thing would be for the president to simply declare, as the head of the executive branch, to declare what? Citizens defend the border? I mean, what?
Call it the militia. You would say that I'm calling forth the militia to repel an invasion.
But how do you have rules of engagement and all of that? What if people go down to the border and just start shooting?
No, they come under the authority. He brings them under the authority of the U.S. military.
I see.
And the first wave could be us with military prior training and law enforcement training.
Oh, I see.
So your first wave are men who already are trained, and then you turn around and you train the rest of them. That's what you should be doing.
You said men. What about women? Are there women in your organization?
Of course.
What about transgender? Do you have transgenders?
I don't think so.
Spartans?
Probably not.
I had to ask, Stuart. I had to ask.
You know what? I really don't care. Because as long as they're willing to go down and protect the Constitution and protect the border, go for it. You know.
See, I feel the same way.
I'll leave that up to the DOD.
I don't care what your private life is like. If you defend this republic, if you defend the Constitution, you're on my team. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of the way I feel about it. But I had to ask.
But I think cross-dressers is pretty bad for human cohesion, frankly.
Well, I tend to agree with that. Yeah. Maybe that could be the California division of the Border Patrol, right there. And maybe the governor of California would approve of them.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. I don't mean to make too much light of the situation, but I had to throw that out there. Okay, getting back to a more serious tone. So, do you think there are enough volunteers in America to defend the border through the mechanism that you're mentioning here?
Sure, if they answer the call. But I think it takes two things. It takes a president of Iraq. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, but this is something they can sink their teeth into and feel good about because it's actually here at home doing something that protects their country.
Well, and also, I mean, we saw a huge outpouring of veterans and former military willing to protect and defend schools.
You bet.
After every school shooting, there's all these people that say, hey, look, I'll volunteer.
Yeah.
I'll patrol the school for free.
Right.
So why aren't the school districts taking them up on that?
Because they don't want them protected. This is what's kind of nice about Sheriff Judd's example. Sheriff Judd put a program in where he put them through his own post academy, trained them to law enforcement standards or above, and he puts them in the school without asking permission of the school district. He does it under his authority as a sheriff, as law enforcement.
Oh, interesting.
They're basically like school resource officers, but they're volunteers. So he takes the teachers, the parents, or local military and police veterans.
But, you know, so many parents who are anti-gun, they're indoctrinated and brainwashed, they're afraid of the object of a gun. So they're afraid of a trained, compassionate, even heroic security person having a gun on the premise when that person is the one who would defend their child.
Right.
But they're afraid of that person because the person has a gun and they think guns kill people.
Until the shooter shows up, and then they're on the phone calling 911 trying to get a cop there as fast as possible.
Right.
So they want the armed guy to show up when the shooting starts, but they don't want him there to stop it in the first place.
They want a 13-minute delay and a stand-down order from Broward County.
Yeah, and hiding behind the sheriff car, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You don't train Spartan members to hide behind cars when the shootings are going on, do you?
No, absolutely not.
So they wouldn't qualify for Broward County duty?
Probably not. Well, that goes back to the same problem. Edwin Vieira wrote a brilliant piece about this situation. He said the same thing about the border. He said the same thing about the schools. He said the president could call up the militia and put them in the schools to secure the schools, and it would trump, pardon the pun, but it would trump any school district or county opposition. This is a federal call-up, and you deploy the militia to protect the schools.
Wow. Yeah, it makes me wonder why he hasn't done that, because it's such a simple thing. And it costs the federal government nothing, essentially. Maybe a little bit of coordination overhead.
A little bit, maybe.
Yeah, but people would volunteer for this.
You bet.
Okay, so let's get back to the Spartan training. We got under a minute left in this segment. What else do people, what actually do people get trained to do? Is it...
Well, we would certainly teach them, of course, use of force. We would teach them the force continuum. We would teach them how to use their weapons effectively and safely. We would teach them first aid for themselves and for others, for victims. Essentially what you would want to have someone know how to do to respond to an active shooter.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I want to ask you a few more details about that. It's the Spartan program under Oath Keepers.
That's correct. Okay,
oathkeepers.org is the website, folks. We're going to continue with Stuart Rhodes on the other side of this break. This is Mike Adams filling in for the Alex Jones Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back with much more. It's fun, right?
Hey, by now I'm sure that most of you know that there are always big discounts and unbelievable savings on a regular basis at InfoWarsStore.com. But check this out. Now you can earn even bigger discounts at the InfoWars store by using our Patriot Points reward program. Hey, like the sound of that? It's our way of saying thank you, America, for supporting the InfoWar. Look, earning points is easy. All you gotta do is go to InfoWarsStore.com and click on the Patriot Points button and sign up today. Spend $1, earn 5 points. It's that easy. So you're starting to get the picture here? This is a rewards program that gives you powerful discounts for buying your favorite products at the InfoWars store. So check it out. The Patriot Points Reward Program at InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139. Yep.
Extendowise, the latest product from InfoWarsLife.com, fuses all the known compounds that have been proven to be good for our heart's cardiovascular system. And listen, everybody's got a heart. Well, actually, maybe Hillary and George Soros don't, but everybody else has a heart, and this product is amazing. So, if you have a heart, you want the very best product out there that's designed to aid a healthy heart, cardiovascular system, it's Extendowise. Available at InfoWarsLife.com. And like all of our products are game changers, this baby is the most souped up, awesome version the top formulators could come up with and still be affordable. It's one of the very best heart pills out there. It's Extendowise. So, get some for yourself and family and friends. It's got the very best fish oil from the fjords, very, very pure, very clean, and has the EPA type that is specifically good for the heart, cardiovascular system. It's got the properly formulated type of CoQ10 and more. It is Extendowise, now available at InfoWarsLife.com.
We all know that the outside toxins in the water is a serious health issue. InfoWars is proud to sell incredible filters, but it's almost impossible to keep up with every faucet, shower, and sink in your home. That's why we're bringing you something to provide clean water for your whole house with one system. The ProPure Whole House Water Filtration System is an advanced 4-stage compact filtration system that will provide water filtration for your entire home, removing 220 plus contaminants from your water. It's compact in size, easy to install and maintain, and keeps fluoride and other dangerous toxins out of your water supply and away from you and your family. With its broad-spectrum contaminant reduction, you'll only need this one filter for clean and refreshing water all over your home. Head to InfoWarsStore.com, and whether it's your first water filtration purchase or you're looking to replace your current rundown systems, it's time to go big and go home with the ProPure Whole House Filtration System today.
Right now is a massive rampage force. Go ahead.
Alex, last night I was on with Laura Ingram, and I had done Dow's Jones show yesterday. I'd done the War Room. She's not on until 9:40 Central. That's 10:40 Eastern. I was exhausted. I popped in a full day here at InfoWars. I'm going to go on with Tucker tonight. Thank goodness for this great product. This is my all-time favorite because it's so effective, and it doesn't give you that jacked-up energy drink feeling. You know, you can sleep with it. And when you stack it with the red pill, the mind-body combination, that is the best. That supercharges your energy, your vitality. This is the best combination I have found. It really works. It's the best mineral vitamin combination I have found, and I've tried them all. I wasted a lot of money on old foods, believe me.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Political outrage turns bloody in Berkeley. Our KPIX5 crews were right in the middle of the chaos as both Trump supporters and anti-Trump activists come to blows.
Protesters followed Trump supporters to their cars as they left the convention center. Around the corner and away from police protection on San Carlos Street, a mob mentality took over.
What do you say to the people who dragged a poor white guy out of a car and beat him?
Oh my goodness, poor white people, please, I'm gonna stop.
These were pure attacks. Trump supporters, men, women, even the elderly, left this building last night and walked right into danger.
This Trump supporter was the first casualty of the day, with blood streaming out of his face.
Pro-Trump and anti-Trump protesters got into it.
Throwing things at the guy who has a Trump shirt on. Oh, he just got knocked in the back of the head. He just got punched in the face. And now they're rushing him.
We're saying if you're out there and you're trying to represent your First Amendment right to free speech, if somebody comes and attacks you, it's your right to defend yourself.
It got ugly. Violence erupting at the event as fights broke out, fists flying between Trump supporters and anti-Trump supporters. It gets pretty ugly.
I want to warn the folks watching at home, you're about to see some very violent footage.
Organizers say today's rallies were meant.
All right, so that's a look at some of the violence that Antifa carries out in the name of what, peace? I don't know. They're insane. Antifa is a domestic terrorism group
Yes.
They are instigating violence. They wear masks to hide their identities so they can get away with these felony assaults. They attack innocent people. You saw some of the footage there. That's just a small sample, as you're well aware.
Right.
This is why you founded your group. So let's talk about this Antifa violence and where, I mean, obviously you think it's important enough to train a group to defend innocent people against that violence.
Absolutely.
Is that because you see this Antifa violence escalating to a point of, I don't know if I want to say it, but where do you see it's going?
Well, eventually it could go kinetic. The use of bombs, they could go full weather underground. And when they do that, whether it's with handguns or rifles or with pipe bombs, at that point we could be into a full-blown civil war. It could escalate to that.
We have seen Antifa groups, I think one recently in California, announce that they intended to shoot patriots and Trump supporters and start the revolution, which I guess is some communist left-wing revolution. And I've seen videos of them training with guns, although they're horrible shots. They miss at 20 yards with a rifle.
Right.
It's so bad. It's almost comical, but they think that they're going to do this.
They're delusional.
Right. But that may mean that they're going to try it because they don't know how quickly they'll be defeated.
That's what brings up the weather underground. They were delusional as well. And yet they still, pipe bombed police stations and buildings. They still cause a lot of damage. And so the difference now is that if an organized group as large as Antifa across the country, who are seen as puppets of George Soros, if they were to go and, like, for example, kill a Border Patrol family or an ICE family, it'd be on. I think you would see an extermination of Antifa in about a week across the country.
What do you mean?
I think at that point, retired police officers and veterans would just hunt them down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just take them out. But they don't know who they are. I mean, that's the point of the masks, is you don't have the identities of many of the Antifa people, so that tends to embolden them into thinking that they could carry out these kinds of killings or attacks. And
well, they would never be able to assemble again in a black bloc. It wouldn't happen. It would be wiped off the face of the earth if they did.
So you believe that there are enough retired law enforcement, retired military, Border Patrol, and so on, who would rise to that occasion if, like you said, let's say if a Border Patrol family were executed by Antifa.
Yeah.
It'd be over for Antifa.
I think so.
Wouldn't there be then current law enforcement response to that to try to,
maybe
local police? I mean, a lot of local police in cities like Los Angeles aren't exactly pro-America, all of them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, we're talking about a civil war. And it depends upon what side they're on, depending on one county to another. In California, for example, you cross the county lines, you're in blue or red state, basically.
Wow.
One or the other.
So
we don't want that. Be very clear about that. We don't want that. We prefer the law enforcement handle it. I think Trump needs to crack down on them, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think the local police do also.
But CNN is defending them. I mean, think about this. Not only does CNN blatantly lie with fake news reporting that they know is fake, the Carl Bernstein piece recently, a great example. But CNN defends Antifa and says that attacks on Antifa are, criticism of Antifa is racism.
Right.
How is that racism?
Well, that's all they got. This is what kind of perverse about it, is that a lot of these young kids that are in these black blocs actually believe that they're fighting Nazis. They believe that.
So they think they're fighting Nazis, which is their delusion.
Right.
And we, the patriots, we might be actually fighting Nazis, which is the
fascist left.
The fascist left.
Exactly.
Who are actually marching in the footsteps of the red shirts and the Third Reich. And they're the actual fascists.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess it comes down to who's the real Nazi.
Well, here's the sick, like I told my guys not too long ago, the perverse thing is we could wind up with these young kids dying in combat, being killed by veterans, and believing as they die that they're fighting a Nazi, and the Nazi is killing them, when all we are is just patriots who want to be left alone and want our families safe.
And who are operating actually in the reflection of the great Americans who defeated the Nazis.
Exactly.
By the way,
the
greatest generation that fought the Nazis, the actual Nazis, stormed the beaches. We took out the Nazis, and we'll do it again if we have to.
Or the commies.
Or the commies, exactly. All right, now, what about these young Antifa delusional terrorists? I've seen the training videos. I've seen them do maybe a total of 4 sit-ups. I've seen them attempt push-ups. You know, they think they're badasses. How quickly would they actually be defeated?
Black bloc.
What's a black bloc?
Well, they dress all alike.
Oh,
from head to toe, so that you can't identify them.
Oh, okay.
And that only works when people aren't shooting them. When they're shooting them, the guy in the black mask gets shot. It's pretty easy to figure that out, right?
Right.
So that the masks don't work unless you're. The masks only work when we are within the bounds of the law and trying to be as civil as possible. Then they can get away
But
with
once
it.
the shooting starts, you don't want to be wearing an anti-mask.
Absolutely not. Yeah, it's a bullet magnet.
Right. What about a red scarf? What
Or
about
that, yeah.
What about a Lenin
Hammer and
t-shirt?
sickle, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The hammer and sickle scarf
How about
and
that?
a Che Guevara t-shirt.
It's like,
yeah, not
you
good.
can pretty much see that at about 1,000 yards, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, and I know veterans. I know one veteran in Montana, Army vet. He takes his elk at 960 yards.
Right.
That's how long he shoots. That's how far he shoots. You got guys like that have been shooting, all their lives. And so the Antifa are not going to train up within a few months or years to match that.
No. I actually shoot at 1,000 yards plus, out to 1,500 with a 300 Win Mag.
There you go.
But it took many years of training, and the wind still, you can't fight it. If you don't have a wind call correctly, you're 6 feet off.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're not going to overnight. They think it's a video game, man. They think you line up the crosshairs and you pull the trigger. That's it.
Right.
They don't know anything about ballistics.
Exactly.
They don't. Okay, so your assessment is, and I would agree with you, that they would be defeated very quickly if it went kinetic. But what if they ran a false flag on themselves?
Right.
Then they could get public opinion shifted against the patriots to say they could stage patriots murdering, a bunch of Antifa people and blame you.
It could. But one of the reasons why we started, like last year, we stepped out in Berkeley twice and guarded public events against Antifa successfully. We did a coalition. It was bikers, it was 3%er groups, it was small militia groups in California, and then it was us. And we brought police professionals in as leadership. And that combined element kept things safe.
I see. So your overall posture, just to summarize, is defensive, peaceful, but ready to respond if Antifa escalates the violence.
Right. Well, we want to just protect them. I'm just saying what would happen in general if they started the Civil War, they'd be defeated. Absolutely.
Right. I tend to agree with you. We'll be right back with Stewart Rhodes. More straight ahead here on the Alex Jones Show.
Let me just say this now, though, ladies and gentlemen. We are running several specials right now, new specials that are the biggest we've ever done. And I'll just be honest with you. We had trouble procuring the proprietary concentrate of the organic chicken broth, which is literally the equivalent of, we think it's like 50 c's. It's hard to quantify 50, 60 things of chicken noodle soup. None of the calories, basically. All condensed, the bone broth essence, and the turmeric root, the chocolate mushroom, the beef pollen, the goji berry, alfalfa powder, and even more. And so it was costing us, hey man, it's got ultimate bone broth. You know about bone broth and what it does. You mix this in with your whey, you mix it in your smoothies, you mix it with everything that tastes great. This is the ultimate meal replacement. It's great for your joints, energy. Everybody knows that, you're sick, take the, chicken noodle soup, leave the bones in, as grandma would do, boil it down. It's absorbed by the cells. It's really good for you. There are so many studies on bone broth, so much research. We studied the industry. Like 3 years ago, I was doing research on hot products and saw that bone broth was the hottest thing in like 2016, 2015. And I looked at the formulas and it was super weak. And I said, I want something, 5-10 times stronger than anybody else. So they have other formulas out there that are $60 that aren't even strong or good. At $39, it's a great deal. This is $19.95 out of the gates. And how can I do it? We quadrupled the order because it was a bestseller before. We did 3 runs of it, but it took so long to get all the ingredients together for each run. I said double the order. I didn't know I doubled the last order, so they quadrupled the order. It has been sold out for 4 or 5 months, but it's back now. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com. Ultimate bone broth, chocolate flavored, natural, made with cartilage, bone broth, paleo ingredients, the next generation of advanced paleo nutrition for my joints, my energy, my stamina, meal replacement. Mix it in with whey, mix it in with some fruit, put it in the blender. Unbelievably delicious. I was on Coast to Coast AM the other night. I ended up at 5 a.m. and I was about to be up for a couple hours. And, I was like, in the old days I drank so much coffee. And I said, you know what? I went over to the counter. I got some ultimate fish oil. Threw 3 of those big old capsules, totally organic, down my throat, all harvested. Made a smoothie with this. Threw in some spirulina on top of it. Boom. I was having trouble going to sleep at 3 a.m. after the show. So, again, folks, we will not be here without you. These are great products. Ultimate bone broth, next level, beyond one. The way that's out there, beyond the other things. This is it. There's no fillers in this. This is explosive.
Hey, what happens if you try to order your favorite InfoWars Life product only to find out they're sold out. Yeah, I know it kind of sucks, but there is a solution. All you gotta do is go to InfoWarsStore.com and click on Auto Ship. Bam! Problem solved just like that. And now you're scheduled for regular delivery. That means no more back orders, and you'll never run out of your favorite InfoWars Life products again. Pretty cool. But guess what? It gets better. When you sign up for Auto Ship at InfoWarsStore.com, you get an additional 10% off that product. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. So what are you waiting for? Support the InfoWar. Order and click on Auto Ship at InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
We are kept afloat only by your loyal patronage, and that's why we need you to go to the site now. If you're not in the market for one of our greatest nutraceuticals, please consider a contribution. $25, $50, $100, $250, or even $500 would be a godsend to our important work here to beat back the globalists and to destroy their campaign of censorship in which they want to strangle our First Amendment rights.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Continue, joined by Oath Keepers Stuart Rhodes here in studio at the Alex Jones Show today. This is Mike Adams asking the tough questions. Actually, I do have a couple of tough questions for you in this final segment. Let me, someone listening to what you said in the previous segments might freak out if they're, especially if they're leftists, and they're like, oh my God, did he just describe that patriots are going to murder all Antifa people? Of course, that's not what you said, but they take everything out of context.
Right.
But you did say that if Antifa, kills let's say a Border Patrol family, that probably there would be a reaction that would, eliminate them all.
Yeah, no, it's a season.
Right, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to clarify what you mean, because you're not talking about like death squads running around the country killing Antifa people, right?
Well, that's not. I mean, look. People would see this is what's perverse about it. Like I said, they would die believing that they were being killed by some Nazi death squad when all it's really going on is a reaction to their violence, their terrorism, and the hunting down of terrorists. We don't want to see that. We prefer to have law enforcement do it. But I think that, if you have a retired Border Patrol officer and he's identified a black bloc or Antifa cell in his community, and he knows it's now open season on his brothers by Antifa, he's going to go whack them.
Now, I gotta say, when you use this term black bloc, I think you're going to be accused of racism.
No, it's a block of black clothes.
No, but I hear you. But
they're all white kids. They're all white kids.
I know the white kids wearing black masks, but CNN said that Antifa is an African-American group, which is nonsense. It's mostly these privileged white kids who, again, can't even do push-ups. They get knocked out with one punch, at the protest, but when you're using that term black bloc, it sounds, somebody's going to take it out of context.
Oh, it's tough. That's the term.
Okay. All right. Well, you're right. They chose their own black colors, even though they're mostly white kids wearing those colors.
It's going to do with race anyway. It's just they think it looks cool. It's the anarchist, black and red flag.
So do you think that they think that they're scary looking?
Yeah.
Because we kind of laugh at them, actually.
Yeah, they think they're scary.
We think they're hilarious.
Yeah.
But they might say that again, that you're calling for violence or you're calling for pre-violence in certain circumstances.
I'm just being predictive. Be blunt. I'm just saying, look, if the Civil War kicks off, we're going to lose.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
The Civil War kicks off, they lose big time.
Did not want to leave a vacuum to be filled by the white nationalists, who are also enemies of the Constitution. They hate the Constitution as well.
That's correct.
They do. They make fun of it all the time. So if we had not stepped out and protected these gatherings, they were hoping that they would be the heroes and come in and be able to protect people, and they would grow their street cred and their authority, which is why they hate Oath Keepers, frankly.
Well, how do you keep white nationalists out of your Spartan program?
We do the same thing. We're going to vet them. We're hunting for them. If we find them in social media, otherwise identify them, we don't train them.
So someone has a social media post, a white nationalist post, or a white supremacist post, KKK, whatever, you reject them.
Absolutely, yeah. Because they're also domestic enemies of the Constitution.
Right.
They are.
Right. Actually, Dinesh D'Souza proved that with his recent movie.
Yeah, with Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
Right.
The guy's like,
he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
He really is a Nazi.
An actual Nazi. Yeah. We found an actual Nazi.
He's a real Nazi.
I see. Okay, finally.
He's a National Socialist. So you have National Socialists and you have the International Socialists on the left.
Right.
So you have two competing totalitarian ideologies.
And you're opposed to both of them.
Absolutely.
Of course. Okay. Now, what about the Sentinel program that you have? Tell us about that.
Well, that's a Oath Keeper only program. So if someone's in a Spartan program, we train them whether they join or not, whether they're in the group or not. I don't care. But if they want to be part of our vetted teams, they have to join Oath Keepers, and we call those our Sentinel teams. And the primary function for them is to be people that we know we can rely on to go and protect the school, or to show up at a critical event that we're protecting, like Berkeley, for example.
Now, so how does that team interlace with local law enforcement? Would the sheriff, for example, be given a phone call to say, hey, some of our Sentinel people are also going to show up to assist? Is that how it works?
We would say we're going to come in like we did in Berkeley. We had about 14 retired police officers and current serving, 12 of them from California, 2 from out of state. 2 out of state were the leadership. Now, John Kerriman, our leader from the rooftops in Ferguson, and a retired lieutenant from the D.C. Metro. So they came in, then they were armed, because they can carry under LEOSA, they can carry nationwide, even in the park in Berkeley.
Under what?
LEOSA, the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act.
Oh, okay.
Right, so retired cop can carry, even in the Berkeley Park, when no one else is allowed to carry anything,
I see, right.
Retired cops can. So we had our retired cops carrying guns in the park, ready in case there was Antifa, kinetic violence. And then you had veterans, like 75 veterans, military veterans, who weren't armed, but who were, wearing body armor and gloves and helmets and ready to go.
I see.
So combined force element.
Have you ever had a situation where your group was called to an incident or a location, and local law enforcement was very combative with you about that, to say, get out of here?
Not so far, because that's the advantage of us having a lot of police officers. They go in ahead of time and lay us on, and among police officers, there's a mutual respect, and they understand what they're doing and why. And they know they're going to stay within the law, we know we're only being defensive, and they know that our police officers are in charge.
It's fascinating having you here in studio to be able to ask you these questions in person.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks for being here. So let me ask you this. You talk to a lot of cops. I know a lot of cops too, but you know a lot more than I do. What is the feeling right now about where they think things are going? Because I just keep hearing a lot of red alerts across the board. What do you hear?
Same thing. They're very concerned that we're seeing a breakdown in our social cohesion.
Yes.
And we're seeing the precursor to a civil war. They don't want to see it either.
And your cops are all, when I say your cops, I mean the officers that are members of your group, they're all pro-Second Amendment, right? There's not anti-gun cops in your group.
No.
Okay. So they love the idea. I mean, you tell me if this is true or not. They love the idea of citizens being armed and trained.
Absolutely, right. Yeah, I've had a panel of 15 police officers and Oath Keepers put together a white paper on exactly how they would want to see schools protected. And it came down right along the same line as the sheriff-judge program. You let the teachers and staff who want to volunteer to be trained and carry guns in the school. You let parents who want to train to standard come in and volunteer. And you also let military and police veterans in the community do likewise. Absolutely.
Well, it makes perfect sense because, like you said early on, we can't just delegate security to some other group.
Doesn't work.
We are part of it.
Right. Well, the citizens. The teachers themselves, this is what the Israelis figured out many decades ago, the pool of people being attacked by the shooter has to be the ones who defend the school. Because they're already there. They're always there. The teachers are always there. It's kind of like with the pilots. Why not arm every pilot?
Right.
He's on the plane, he's on every plane.
Right.
Doesn't cost you any extra money at all.
And the pilots I know are all good shooters anyway. The pilots have a lot of handguns.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
Yeah, they're smart guys. I mean, to fly a plane, you have to be a smart individual, and they're good with ballistics and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We've got just a couple minutes left. First of all, I just want to say, I think it's great what you're doing, and thank you for your leadership and for your compassion for this country. I know that you get a lot of hate as all of us do who are pro-America.
Right.
You probably get that credit too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. In the end, when this all plays out over the next, let's say, through 2 terms of a Trump presidency, by the time we get to 2024, where are we in America at that point in your view? It doesn't have to be, a prediction, but just trend-wise, where do you think we are?
Well, I think they're trying to isolate him and just run the clock out on Trump. And I think we have to make sure that we take advantage of this, like with the iron's hot. There's too much complacency out there. I think we need to be organizing and getting prepared while we have this window of opportunity when you don't have the federal government breathing down your neck. So, local.
What about the fact that the Democrats are very strong in the cities, but rural America has, of course, a lot more patriots, but how, if engagements are in the cities, isn't that kind of a home court advantage for the Antifa terrorists?
One of our strongest chapters now is in Berkeley, California.
Is that right?
Yeah. One of our best chapters is the Bay Area of California now. Because of their stepping out twice, they've developed a cohesion. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this program, is we want to see more of that. We want to see more patriots coming together, realizing they can do it, and getting them on the job.
How many total members in Oath Keepers right now?
Right now about 30,000, but we want to double that. We're doing a membership drive right now, and hopefully we'll double it.
Is there a fee to be a member?
$40 a year.
Okay, so nothing.
No. Yeah, basically.
Right.
A couple
one box of ammo.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so everybody check out oathkeepers.org. If this is interesting to you, join the organization and check out the Spartan training program. Is that starting now?
Yes. You can go on the website right now and find the form to apply. And you don't need to be an Oath Keeper to do that, but you're more than welcome to join, whether you're prior service or not. You're welcome.
You have to have firearms experience to join?
No.
So no experience?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the point. We'll train you.
You just bring your pistol? Yep. Should they bring it loaded or unloaded?
Unloaded.
That's what I thought. I don't go to gun training classes anymore with groups of newbies because they're too dangerous. They walk around pointing and everything.
Okay. Training.
It does depend. All right. Well, thank you, Stuart. It's great to have you in the studio.
All right,
thanks, everybody. That's the show. That's a wrap. We'll talk to you next time.
Hey, by now I'm sure that most of you know that there are always big discounts and unbelievable savings on a regular basis at InfoWarsStore.com. But check this out. Now you can earn even bigger discounts at the InfoWars store by using our Patriot Points reward program. Hey, like the sound of that? It's our way of saying thank you, America, for supporting the InfoWars. Look, earning points is easy. All you got to do is go to InfoWarsStore.com and click on the Patriot Points button and sign up today. Spend $1, earn 5 points. It's that easy. So you're starting to get the picture. And this is a rewards program that gives you powerful discounts for buying your favorite products at the InfoWars store. So check it out. The Patriot Points Reward Program at InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139. Yep.
Let's go ahead and go to Lloyd in Washington. You're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Mr. Alex Jones.
Hey, brother. Good, man. Thank you for calling.
Hey, I just want to say thanks for your products and everything that you're doing to try to save the country. I've tried your Secret 12, Super Male, Anthroplex, the Silver Bullet, Bio Defense, Micro GX. It's all good stuff. Secret 12, if everybody would just drop their energy drinks and get some Secret 12, take a shot at that.
Well, that's the thing about Secret 12. Just a half a dropper. It has way more energy. It's totally, people ask, why is it sweet? Real organic B12 is sweet. And exactly. I'm super tired. I go, hey, why am I drinking coffee at 10 at night if I'm going on some show like Coast to Coast? Boom, Secret 12, 30 minutes later, massive energy. It's amazing.
Yeah, that stuff will wake you up, and the clarity of mind that comes along with that is just amazing.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
I'm standing in this briefing room right now. There is no government official here, but I'll say that the press is not the enemy of the people. But I'll say that the press is not the enemy of the people. The press is not the enemy of the people. The press is not the enemy of the people. They came in peace. on Pennsylvania Avenue, like these folks who chant CNN sucks and fake news. Maybe we should go out, all journalists should go out on Pennsylvania Avenue and chant, "We're not the enemy of the people." We're not the enemy of the people. We're not the enemy of the people. We're not the enemy of the people.
This is CNN.
And now, President Trump is calling out the media, not only on his Twitter, but in live interviews, saying they only have their hatred and anti-Trump, anti-American agenda. Welcome into the Alex Jones Show. Owen Schroyer filling in for Alex Jones. We will be hearing from Alex in the second segment. He's going to be addressing the social media campaign to censor conservative speech and, more importantly, censor President Trump from getting his message out. That needs to get to the president's desk. And yesterday, I believe it was, President Trump tweeted out the hashtag Stop the Bias video on his Twitter account, which I think people now need to make trend by doing what Jack Posobiec did. And you go on Twitter, and for example, he did Breitbart is, or you can do InfoWars is, or you could do Donald Trump is, and look at all the auto finish results that come up when you put that into the search bar. Now you do that, you take screenshots, you show how Google is biased, and then you tweet those screenshot images out with hashtag Stop the Bias.
Hello?
And that's what President Trump should have done as the next level of the video
Hello?
he tweeted out about Google's bias.
Hello? Yeah. Sitting there. We should be back home by now. I don't know. What is buddies? Oh yeah. Yeah, he just lives on the other side of the street down there. Nothing? Nah. I'm sitting here paying attention to bullshit radio. And I had no TV on. Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, jeez. I went outside. I was waiting too long for you out there. I thought you were going to be quicker.